Good evening. My followers, friends, subscribers all over the world, they ask me if there is a war between the US and Iran, who would I support? I'm a Muslim man. I live in the West. I'm a British citizen. I lived half of my life in a Muslim country, Bangladesh. So, who would I support? My children are American and British by birth. My parents are Americans, my siblings are Americans, my cousins, uncles, aunts, they were all Americans. They were all migrants. But still, who would I support? My position is very clear. I'm not going to be someone who is going to lean on any kind of lame excuse to justify his position. My position is absolutely clear. Hypothetically, if the war breaks out between the US and Iran, I would definitely support the US without a shred of doubt. And I would also encourage my friends and family members to do everything necessary to defend the US and the American interests all over the world. What is the main problem with us Muslims regarding America? Well, is it Israel? Is it Israel and is it the control of Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Mosque? What is it? If it is the control of Al-Aqsa Mosque and Jerusalem, well, what about the greatest Muslim fighter ever lived, Saladin? Saladin, with all his enormous army, allowed Christian ruler to rule Jerusalem until the time when his own sister was raped and Muslims were being stopped from performing their religious duties inside Jerusalem. So Muslims during Saladin's time had the resolve and had the power to accept the rule of another religious community if they were given equal rights. But now Muslim nations are weak around the region and they still are vying to control Jerusalem, control of Al-Aqsa Mosque, instead of having dialogues to ensure that Muslims, Jewish people, Christians, they all get equal right to the city where people of various religions live. So is that the main problem? What are the things that America did wrong? Bombing Afghanistan, Iraq, with lame excuse and lies of weapons of mass destruction? Well, that was wrong. But Saddam was not a good man. I still believe that George W. Bush and Tony Blair were bad people. But at the same time, Saddam Hussein was not an angel. Saddam Hussein was not a devout Muslim as well. Saddam Hussein changed his position regarding Islam after his hanging was imminent. Saddam killed many Sunnis. Saddam who killed many Kurds. Kurds are Sunnis. Many of the Western media don't understand this, but that's the fact is the Sunnis and Kurds, they're the same. Maybe ethnically they're Kurds, but they're Sunnis. Saddam Hussein killed thousands of Sunnis. He was not a religious man. There was no reason to love him. Saddam also attacked Saudi Arabia. So what is the problem? Weapons of mass destruction, the Western people, American people, the British, most of us don't accept that what was done to Afghanistan and Iraq was right. That was not right. Move on. Now, what did America do to the Muslims? I'll tell you what they did. When the Serbs were butchering Muslims in Bosnia and the Kosovan Muslims were killed in thousands, Muslim women were being raped, what did the Muslim world do? What could they have done other than praying to Allah? Nothing. End of the day, in 1995, under the leadership of America, NATO took out the Bosnian criminals from authority. And Muslims were freed there. That's what America did when Muslim world couldn't do anything. Now going back even further, during the Soviet regime, the Soviets killed thousands and millions of Muslims. They took out Muslim lands one after another. The Tatar Muslims, the Chechens, the Kazakhs, the Azeris, they were killed in thousands. Muslims lost their right to freedom of religion, and atheism was forced in them. Who helped to dismantle Soviet Union? The US. And as a result, 8 new Muslim nations were born again in mid-Asia, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, and all that. So, Americans helped Muslim nations become free and to have freedom of religion again. Think of that. We don't want to talk about that. What about Muslims in South Asia? Britain. Without Britain, Muslims in South Asia like Bangladesh and in Pakistan, they would have still been under the rule of someone like Narendra Modi, and would still suffer from lack of freedom of religion as Muslims. Soon after the partition of India, the Americans helped Pakistani powers to arm themselves against possible Hindu-Indian invasion. That's what America did. When Ayub Khan went to America in early 60s, he was given a red carpet welcome by President Kennedy. And the American ties with Pakistan helped Pakistan remain Pakistan. And now we have Bangladesh and Pakistan, free Muslim lands. That's what America did. When Soviet Union, the atheist Soviet Union, invaded Afghanistan, what could have Muslims done? Nothing. Unless America helped the Mujahideen, Soviet Union would have still be there. That's what Americans did. How can we forget that? Now, millions of Muslims are living in America. They are amongst the most educated and most economically prosperous community in America. Millions of Muslims are sending billions of dollars to their Muslim relatives around the world. And Muslims are living with every right as Muslims in America. Muslims are not being persecuted as Muslims inside America. When the Muslims number only less than 2% in America. They don't have any discriminatory policies when it comes to applying for visas as Muslims to America. That's what America has done. And the Quranic verses are enshrined in American Supreme Court walls. That's what Americans are doing. Thousands of American Muslims are in American army. And they're giving their blood to defend America. Muslims in America are standing high as Muslims. America is not a Christian country. It's a country for all people of all communities, all religions, all backgrounds, all colors. So is Britain. So why should I support Iran when Iran is not even a proper Muslim nation? In Iran, Shia Muslims are worshipping their leaders because that's part of the Shia faith. They revere their leaders unquestionably. Only 10% of Muslims are Shias. And read the history of Shia Islam from the 15th century during the Safavid regime. What kind of butchery they engaged against Sunnis. And they're still doing it in the name of halting Islamic State advancement. They are butchering thousands of Sunni Muslims. And in history, Jewish people, Christians, Kurds, and everybody, even the Yazidis were living with equal rights with Muslims in that region. Until Iran started spreading its fangs and its hate towards Sunnis. And that caused radicalizing of Sunnis and gave birth to these evil groups in the name of Islam, terrorist groups. So Iran is the cause. Iran is using the pretext of going against Israel and trying to win the hearts and minds of Muslims, Sunnis. But the fact is, they just want to control the three mosques, Mecca, Medina, and Al Aqsa. They are mainly driven by power madness. Soon after the Americans leave, if they do, and if Israel ceases to exist tomorrow, these Shias will start war with Sunnis, and that whole region, entire region, will see another third world war between Shias and Sunnis. Is that what we want, really? Is that what we really want? Muslims in America can criticize America, like I'm doing right now, being British Muslim, being an American dad. I can criticize American president. I can criticize anybody I want to help my country get better. Whereas hundreds and thousands of Jewish people, Christians, they all left Iran and they became atheists, many of them. Islam is dying in Iran because of the so-called Islamic rule in Iran, which is nothing but worshipping of their cult leaders. Why should I support Iran when Iran is not even giving equal rights to Sunnis? Look at the numbers, how they are going down every year. The numbers of Sunnis, Jewish, and Christians in Iran. No, if there is war that breaks out between Iran and America, without a shred of doubt, I will stand by America. There are things I don't agree with America and foreign policy, but I have the right to criticize it. And American people, American government they have given me the right to do so. That's why I love America, because I have the right to make it better. Whereas, even in Bangladesh and other Muslim nations, I don't have it. But regardless of that, the America goes tomorrow, we'll see rise of the Soviet Union again. We'll see rise of Indian Hindutva again. The rise of Chinese power again, which I don't want. Look at the Uyghur Muslims being butchered by China. Do you want to see more of that? Hell no.